everybody, welcome back to another movie review. Hope you guys have been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. Decided to check out another mystery movie, and I found out an interesting thing to do with the mystery movies from now on. If I go into the mystery movies about like a minute or two before they start, you actually find out if you go on the Reddit threads, you can actually find out what the movie actually is going to be around set time. So if you just get squeezed right into the theater right before the movie starts, they reveal to you what the movie is. And I had a suspicion as to what this would be, and I was curious by the prospect of that film being shown, and thankfully that film was shown. And now we're going to talk about it. So, that film we're going to talk about today is Ezra, which was written, I think, and directed by Tony Goldwyn. I believe that's how you say his name. Not familiar with him. My guess is that he is a comedian. His name sounds sort of familiar, but my guess is that he's probably a comedian. But stars Bobby Cannavale, I think that's how you say his name, as well as Robert De Niro and Rose Byrne and Vera Farmiga. Bobby Cannavale, he is a father to a autistic son, and he is also a struggling comedian trying to find his footing, trying to be discovered, and he does get a chance as he is discovered by Jimmy Kimmel and is wanting to go to LA and and to and to present his material to him. And while amidst getting that news, he has also taken his son with him on this journey, due to events unfolding previously with his son getting into a car accident or getting hit by a car. And things unravel, and he potentially is going to be pushed towards medication and other things, and he's very much against that, whereas mother is very much for that. And he decides to take Ezra on this journey with him to Jimmy Kimmel. What originally was just a father and son thing, then became the Jimmy Kimmel adventure with them venturing out to LA. But within that whole arc, them getting to LA, what's maintaining throughout is this purpose of father and son and creating a bond. And through this, we see potentially some growth, a lot of growth in that of Ezra, which is the name of the kid, and we see also what I like about the film a lot is the duality in perspective. You know, it's not a film that wishes to just bathe in the father's point of view. It also showcases a little bit of that mother point of view as well, and giving a little bit of the gray in which is the right way to approach this. You know, with the mother wanting for the kid to be treated and to be around people like him, and to give him something of a sense of what should I say, like of a sense of identity. But for the father's case, he wants him to be, as he says, in this world, in the real world. He wants him to be surrounded by just people, and you see the perspectives and ultimately the conflict of interests, and it's kind of instilled in the viewer as well. You know, that's that conflict of what is the right way in dealing with that situation, and it's good. It's good that the film that touches upon that. You know, it's something that I think would have been more indigestible if they had chosen to go one way, because then you're negating the other side of things. You know, like, both sides are correct. It's just a matter of just where things are going to end up, and ultimately they both get their piece. You know, so but in that conflict of interest of presenting, you know, that case and just what it is and that story, I feel as though that conflict of interest also translates to my overall interest of said film, because one of the issues that the film possesses is that it's very choppy in terms of I think the editing is just, I think, very problematic, because it has the purpose of comedy in it. I mean, the dead giveaway, I mean, the thing that just kind of illustrates me the most is at the very end of the film, there's, I mean, because the whole point is getting to Jimmy Kimmel, and Jimmy Kimmel himself makes a cameo at the very end of the film during the credits, and it plays out like a sketch from his Tonight Show, and that parody, like, and that like office sort of mentality, just by how the camera zooms in, the quick edits, that sort of is to some extent how the film itself is being edited. And we're down to Rainn Wilson also having an appearance in the film, and I just feel that doesn't create emotion. And it's funny because the film has pockets of emotion. There are times when the film does give these characters time, breathing room, and it allows us to really absorb their circumstance. And it's felt in some moments, especially with some of the threads that they plant throughout the film. Little things here and there that will build and be, find their conclusions at the end of the story. And there are some threads that are given a conclusion, and then there's some threads that are just kind of not really resolved or really get put into any greater sphere, except that one specific scene, because it feels sketched together, it feels stitched together. That's the word I'll put. It just feels stitched together, and that's a problem. It feels like it really feels like a puppet, in terms of just the construction of the film. And I feel that was very problematic, and it really led to something that was quite dry in emotion and very, very 50-50 in terms of an interest. So, because at times when the film wishes to bathe in emotion, it works, but a lot of its time, it's like I said, you could just feel the strings. As my illustration of a puppet, you just feel the strings. It's not the case of where the film is like a Pinocchio. It is before Pinocchio becomes Pinocchio. It's just, when he's like, there are no strings to hold me down. This has strings to hold it down. And it's felt, and you definitely feel that in its editing, and just by the construction of the film, how it moves through its events. It charts it in familiar territory, familiar, appealing territory. Like I said, I like the fact that the story itself, the way that it's described to us, it's not being presented in one side. We are given both sides, and both sides are respected. It's not that someone is the bad guy here. There's no bad guy in this. Everybody has their perspective, and they're right. And they're right in feeling that way. And it's not selfish. It's absolutely for the benefit of that kid and looking out for that kid. So, but I just wish I just wish that what I was describing was felt more. I could see that that's what's being done, but I don't feel that a lot throughout the film. And I just wish that I felt that more, because as storytelling goes, like just what is being described to me and what's to some extent being shown, it's interesting, but the execution and the construction of its, like the design of the film, is it's more mechanical than it is emotional, and that's rather unfortunate because of just the story that is there at the center of it. It is something really interesting, and the subject matter, the touching on autism and the little details embedded within the character of Ezra, the little pieces about him touching the mother's ear, like their way of communicating with each other, and how also that translates to his father, the barriers that he puts. There are very interesting little things that they bring about in the film, but I feel as though that those are just, as I described, details, but they're not they're not the film. And I wish that was the film, but the film more or less is more or less just a puppet, and I wish that it was more or less Pinocchio, but it's not. It's just that of a puppet, and you do feel the strings. There absolutely are strings. There are absolutely strings to hold this thing down. So, and that's unfortunate. So, but as it stands, it's it's not completely disposable, or it's not something that is devoid of any substance. There is, like I said, pockets of it, but I wish it was more or less a bag of emotions and not just little pockets of it. because the storytelling, the story itself definitely lends itself to it, and I wish that they capitalize more on it, and not concern themselves with comedy and humor, you know, and trying to construct the film around that sort of mentality. Because when you see the Jimmy Kimmel skit, it's very informative to how you feel about the film. I mean, that's at least how I felt when I watched that skit at the very end. It's like, wow, that really put in perspective how I felt about the film. Like, I was trying to find a word for it, and then Jimmy Kimmel's skit came on. I was like, yep, that's kind of how I feel. This just feels constructed. It just feels mechanical, and I really wish it didn't feel that way. I wish I felt more and not and not and not see the and not take notice of the production itself. You know, I wish I was bathing in its emotion, and it's rather vague in that. So 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 yeah. So those are my thoughts on Ezra. It's okay. It's nothing bad. It's nothing terrible. It's nothing offensive, thankfully. Um, like they're very careful with how they how they embed the comedy into this. It's nothing edgy or trying to push the boundaries. You know how comedians work. It's just you're being a bully, by the way, if you do that. If you're just like pushing the boundaries, like, oh, I'm gonna bring up personal shit, you're just being a bully. Sorry, but no, you know. I think, like I said, I just wish it wasn't mechanical. That's just the feel. That's just the best way to describe it. It's just more mechanical than emotional, and it's rather unfortunate. But you guys, know your thoughts on Ezra when you guys check it out. I believe it comes out on the 31st. So let me know your thoughts when you guys see it. And whatever has Tony Golden done other films? I the name sounds familiar to me. I mean, let me know if has he done other films or is he a comedian. Let me know. Let me know all your thoughts on Ezra if you guys have seen it. All things Tony Golden if you guys know any of his films. And yeah, so that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.